Hello, welcome back. This is JD, and today I'm going to talk to you about colors. Okay? If we think about colors and we want to define colors, for me, I find it like a very difficult term to define, to give a definition, to give a concept. So, when we talk about colors, we can say, well, it's red, green, yellow, blue, and so on and so forth. Then I decided to look at the definition dictionary, and what I found is blue, red, pink, and so on and so forth. So there isn't like a real definition to the word colors. But I think that the concept of the meaning of colors is pretty obvious, but what we're going to focus on is value, saturation, and hue. Features of colors. Okay, let's start with value. Value is another way we can say light. Okay, um, we have on one end on the left this vivid, intense red as an example. Okay, and as we move to the right, the color starts getting darker and darker. It starts losing its light until it gets to black. Losing its light, it's losing its value. Okay, so a color with little value is a color that is actually pretty dark. A color with no value is pretty much black, and a color with high value is the vivid version of that color. Moving on to saturation, might be a similar concept. I find it actually very similar, but there's a huge difference. We have on the left, again, the exact same vivid color. But as we remove saturation, we're not going to black because we're not taking away light. Light stays there. We're taking away its life, okay? To call it somehow. So we desaturate the color until we get to this gray color over here. Actually, we can say that the color is muted. Desaturated or muted is another expression that we can use to talk about this. Okay. Think about movies, okay? Old movies, the ones that we call black and white, which are not really black and white. They're movies in grayscale, right? So what happens with those movies is that the pictures are not saturated. They have no saturation. If you have a picture, a colorful picture, and you want to have a black and white version of that picture, you can go to any image editing software, for example, Photoshop. Okay, and all you have to do to get a black and white picture is desaturate the picture, and then you're gonna have a picture in grayscale. Okay, notice a difference, super important. When we get to zero value, that means black. When we get to zero saturation, it means a specific shade of gray that corresponds to that color. Coming up, we have hue. Hue, I would say, is pretty much the color itself. Okay, and if we look at here, at the left, we have this circle, super useful circle. Okay, because I'm gonna tell you something about that. That maybe if you don't know it, or if you're not familiar with the fundamentals, it's gonna blow your mind, or at least it blew mine back in its time. And if you know about it, well, it might be super obvious for you. Okay, so this circle presents pretty much all colors, but notice these colors, they have a high value and they are not desaturated. They have saturation, okay? So you're not gonna find gray here, you're not gonna find black here. Cool thing about this circle is that if you look here, for example, this is yellow. And if you look right across yellow, you're gonna get blue. So what's the big deal about that? Well, the big deal is that yellow and blue, they're opposites, which means that if you want to create contrast, the combination of yellow and blue is fantastic. Okay? So that's the part that actually blew my mind when I found out. I was like, wow, I didn't know that yellow and blue could be opposites. I didn't know that red and green are opposites. One of the reasons for that got my attention is the fact that I'm a little bit colorblind. Okay, so sometimes I mix up with red and green. That's just in case if you have that condition, don't worry about it. That's not going to prohibit or that's not going to stop you from learning art. Okay, you can be a great artist if you're even if you're colorblind. Okay, there are some musicians that are deaf, so don't worry about it. Just keep working hard. The cool thing is that the most color blindness, when they're not that severe, of course, they are red. The people mix up red and green. and they happen to be opposite. Okay? So I was like really shocked by that in a good way. Okay. Finally, I have there a screenshot of the color picker from Photoshop, just to show you how we can take into consideration value, saturation, and hue, how we can use them. Okay, when working with colors. So this part right here, this square, this big square, represents value and saturation. Okay? We can say here that the value is super high, but there's no saturation. Okay. Here we can say that the value is low and we still have no saturation. If we go here, the value stays low, but we have saturation. Obviously, when we have, for example, when we go from the bottom left corner to the bottom right corner, we're not gonna see any change. Everything is black there, okay, with or without saturation, because we stay with value 0. Okay? But if we go to the upper right corner, okay, there you have again that vivid red. It means that it has high value and it is saturated. Okay? And we want to get grayscale, well, we move somehow diagonal here to get this part. It is little saturated, okay, but there still has some value so we can see it. Okay, so notice there in that big square we have value and saturation. And what about this rectangle here? Well, this one is hue. It seems as if somebody just took the circle, cut it here, and they just put it in a straight line. If you notice, it's pretty much exact, pretty much that. Okay, so if you want to choose, for example, let's say that you are painting a car, okay, and you say, well, the car is going to be blue, so you come here. Maybe you want this intense, saturated, vivid blue. Click on the corner, but then you notice that in your work there is a part of the car that's being covered by a shadow. Then you think, oh, I'm gonna change the color. No, don't do that. Don't change the color. All you have to do is keep the same hue. Okay, just reduce the value, so you can have the same color, different value, and it's going to be more harmonic because you're not mixing like blue with light blue with navy blue, for example. It's mixing blue with the same blue and a lower value. And this is how we work with colors in our art. Okay? I'll see you next time for another session of Art Fundamentals. Bye bye.